Ebusha for your Mamunina Aquaba Eba. And then you measure media to the day time with tart up send. And so Sabre Musom for Kofias and so. Don't know from me PK for your and so. Minimum better kama. The dead na bibia so ayekama. And the behu say asamaphobia yomuti apie ewo jivede so. Into no ebe man that do no aye kama ebe course so the new guest away in team the first time ever on our platform on our show into no mess shall say from you now you so friend you na engage media na enya kama tell that sana mekano no tikoka wa he ebokru into the mobi ambetene for the first time na nipa nankasa emfa enye ade a ono ebetimi ede abo ne ho bra. Na answer na yebe ko dwumede no so mepe se yebe da abo afa so yasne ase quick one na afedi de dwumede no ahyehye so kaba minim se yebe du sa no so na wafro nua na nua so afedi nua na afedi ya twetwe koma bia koma yeah live on her live on HITV, live on Tatap Ghana, and live on HITV YouTube and Facebook na so also na go for bebe so streaming kama into the Mistral and the program is going to be strictly English, but for the purpose of our commercial, no, you're very quick. Feel good services to say it's all mental health and education. Be a promotion acquiring na phenomenal engage media. So na feel good homes na make for madu busu na misrao ope bia beda bibia be kama. Our East Legon Hills and 8 environs are contact feel good services. Contact feel good homes. Our feel good services at gmail.com. Or no numbers so that feeding so a transpedited. Happy Glow GH, a place for all your beauty supplies and also pedicure manicure. From a number no, I will feed in so not feed from on any or more education kama. Miss also Caribbean Oswald Wellness LLC, registered in both Ohio and Maryland. Be able to me any the best primary care management as well as your weight management program. Any IV hydration be from na feed any more ending kita ho na bibia enkoso kama. Millicent Owusu says our person fighting financial ignorance in America, bra. Never paid the best life insurance policy Emma Wabusia as well as college fund. And also create a generational wealth for your family. It's a by Millicent, not video, Bibia and Koso Kama Emma. Tatap said, Papa no. Mr. Zabri call App Store and that's Google Play Store. Download the app no. Now for the promo code PK P-KAY. So the promo code Nishema will be $15 on your first transaction. Who yes now send the equa. What's gonna happen is say you will bill friends a bill pay process no. I want my baby to date your bills it will fee and anything that has to do with bills it will fee up so take care of. Instead so discussion and say my this can say be a producer and a lot. What's money so I'm gonna go to your bills man have to be do no bedu ECG hono na sikane ndru hono. Not that we can will acquire so own pennies out. It is no. You should bill pay no take advantage of it and just pay your bills without any hassles. PR Ewo Ghana. And Chebi also no wallet system in the Beba US ama so yet me take advantage of it. Na bibia IFA kama. Sabri Edama say Mugusu tie Edama say bibia ekoso so kama. Your best director am I any updates from Tatas and Akache? Nyame boa next week. Yeah, showed because of holiday, no. Say holiday na typical na Monday so no for bebre so ne busia for ekwa transpede they was street into no. Nyamba next week yeah show, but the week after that, any lawyer Roda A from Pombesa show. Now the week after that, we be so to also. And that topic no is about fiancé visa. And I said, yeah, was spousal visa and not the right path to follow. And I said the right path for you, no. Now the week after that, we will talk about on more person more school USA had me say come bit my first so apply for my visa fee no. Then after that we go into another segment in terms of immigration law no. Into no Nema baby na dey bram back to back 3 weeks in a row. It is Abri director. Yemakwa eba jumede so.
Good evening. Pacho, be on my journey. Thank you so much for joining. Rhoda, I understand I have to strictly speak English, so I'll be mindful. But I'm sure you understand Chi in some capacity. It was
very well.
Thank you so much. PK has a thing where he takes jabs at people's Chi, but
Oh, then I won't even try.
Please. Definitely, 100%. No, but but your mobile, I say thank you. BK and I have been working really hard to get, the lawyer on the show because he even said none of the, well, first of all, they don't have the time because immigration, they don't have the time. That means Broder's making a lot of money. But on a more serious note, we understand what the show means to the diaspora. So we need to talk about, we find topics that make sense. I bet boy, I know some people are joining, they might not even live in US soil. I'm in America, but they have loved ones from America. It's not PK Alcofa road out behind them saying Esquire road out. Please, I don't want to shortchange you. I'll be joining him. So we discuss more issues around immigration. I mean, he said I started with Fiancé, but PK has set it up in such a way that will be a series of topics that would just touch other pockets of immigration rather than you go to church, now auntie said, oh, Mete said Kwame Koy, and this is what happened to them at the immigration, so it applies to you. Just like immigration, I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose. That's why we have a specialist there. So please, things you're not sure about, things you don't understand, ask questions. Ask questions. So it's very difficult to get a lawyer here 3 sessions in a row. If you're charging a retainer, I think you could probably break tax and bank. But thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. And welcome. I mean, welcome to the show. I think that's from myself and my team to you. But for the tap and update, as PK touched on, tap, we build product based on what people need, right? There's been a lot of remittance solutions that solve the same problem that we do. What's that? These not tap and buy. So we're not doing anything grand like that. Be that. But more importantly, and what makes us different was actually helped us grow significantly is the fact that we listen to you guys. For example, anybody who's been using TapTap for more than a year and a half know we had pending issues. Now it's been significantly resolved. We listen to you guys about bill pay. So now we build a product that has bill pay. So you could buy airtime for your loved ones, then actually sending money to you. Wallet is something that's coming in. Every person on this call is a fiscal spender. How much can you get for your dollar? If you create multiple apps that they check to see, say, yeah, SendWave and whatever other product they use to compare, right? Into your dream and say, okay, what can we do to make sure, say, yeah, your rate is better? And now I said, it's more favorable. You can store it in your wallet, right? We launch in the UK and then launch with Europe. America is at a normal farm buy. The difference is the licensing here. We've gone through every single process of it. And even in America, every state you have to go find a proper license, which we have. So come early September, we're launching an alpha. But your alpha is nothing to alpha, yeah, test it. Now, if you are tested, be account, send a be obia use because obia sika important. So we want to make sure that when it's properly tested, then we're going to fully launch. Because maybe I'm about America, but America always surpasses Europe. Until we have to get it done right, significantly right. After all, go for more Europe, no many have decided to go Europe compared to America. But that's what we're here to talk about immigration. So PK and Lawyer, I think that's it from my end. And then you said they're going to ask a lot of questions. So PK and I talked about making sure that we keep everything sub 10 minutes and leave the entire show to you. And it's going to be as interactive as possible. So welcome to the show. Thanks for making the time. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is it over to me now, I believe?
Oh, no, not yet. We still got
Oh,
20
okay.
minutes. 20 minutes before it comes back to you.
Okay, I'll take it.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for honoring our invitation and coming on the show. On behalf of HITV and the show Time with Startups, and we want to say big thanks to you and also for making time out of your busy schedule. Well, we are here to listen to you and also see how best we can make this topic a fruitful one and make it more profitable in terms of our lives and the lives of others who are also watching us. But since today's been your first show, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself in a nutshell, like maybe a minute or two? Then after that, then we can go into the main topic.
Sure. I talk fast, so a minute here might be too long, but
I don't think you talk faster than me.
oh, okay. All right. Well, firstly, thank you for the platform. I Trino dear Matias said, to me, in to say PK and I think it's David, but
No. David did teach you. I mean, quite a wife.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm Patrick, you want me Ghana into me free time. I am a Ghanaian girl, but I've been here for quite some time. And I find that Profono Day, when it drew courtroom, it comes in handy. So I had to perfect it for your sake. So I do understand the tree, but English is usually best when it comes to the legal matters. So yes, my name is Rhoda Ajimai from Pong. And I have to say Ajimai because my father is on here. I saw his face pop up here. So please. I'm still in Ajimai, but I am Ghanaian. I was born in Ghana. I have been practicing immigration for close to about 10 years this year. I started my own practice about close to 6 years ago. I've been doing immigration, like I said, for so on and off again about 10 years. I've helped people both in the United States and overseas. So I'm not limited to just the United States. As long as it's U.S. immigration matters, I can, for the most part, I can assist you. I handle cases from whether you're just trying to come to the United States on a visitor's visa, or you're trying to, maybe you're here and you want to go to school, or maybe you have a loved one and you want to get married here, or, whether you want to file for citizenship, or God forbid, you find yourself in courts proceedings and you're facing deportation. So it's a wide spectrum. I don't do a lot of employment-based immigration right now. I know EB2, national interest waiver, is a really, really big thing right now among Ghanaians. And the primary reason why I don't do that is because most, with all due respect, most people that are interested in it don't qualify for it. So it's not something that I do generally, but it's on a case by case basis. Let's see. I have an office in Massachusetts. I have another office in Connecticut, and so we are planning on expanding soon. So stay tuned for some news as to our new location. I will actually be in Ghana in October. October 10th. I'm doing a program in Ghana to give the information to the people that need it. And so much like what PK and David were saying, everybody needs immigration information. It's important. Whether you are a citizen or you know somebody, you need immigration information. And one of the things I realized doing this work for so long is that most of the Ghanaians, especially, most of the issues that we face is not what happens when we get here. It's what we do when we're leaving. So when you are leaving, so by force you have to get the visa. So catch them and say, okay, me wa year and I have 4 children or something, and you don't. And then they give you the visa, you get here, and then now some about then you need me, and things get complicated. So the whole point of the program I'm doing is to come there, tell you what to do, tell you how to do it the right way, so that when you come here, you won't need me. Lottery is opening in October as well, so I'll be in town to actually help people do their lottery applications as well. So yes, that's a little bit about me. But yeah, and I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Was that 2 minutes?
That was actually that was good. That was good. So
Good.
I really did not time it, but then I was just paying attention and focusing to the stuff that you have to say, and a little bit about the stuff that you'll be doing in Ghana. With due time, we will project it on the screen for people to see. But then what are the dates specifically for that program? I know you said October, but
October 10th. So 10/10. It's going to be at 7 p.m. At
Mhm.
the I know now it's called Lancaster Accra, but it used to be called Golden Tulip Hotel. So it'll be on
Oh,
10/10 at 7 p.m. at the Golden Tulip Hotel.
okay, great. Well, let's talk about spousal visa or fiancé visa.
Yes,
Because I think spousal visa is different from fiancé visa. It's two different things, right?
absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start with the spousal first. Then tell us a little bit about it, how to go about it, the right path. Then after that, we can talk about the fiancé and just oppose the both, and see how best people can make a decision. Because sometimes people think it's best to wait till you marry your fiancé for you to get them the visa to get over here. Or people also think, hey, you can get them the fiancé visa. Then once they get over here, you go ahead and do what you have to do, what normal people do to marry their spouses and stuff like that. So I will let take over from here and run it through. The questions will still be coming. We're gonna pile them up, and once we get a break, or once you need a breather, let us know. That we're just gonna ask some questions and we're gonna flow with it.
Sure.
Over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so spousal versus fiance. The two visas are similar. They're similar in the way the processes work, but they're also very different when it comes to the length of the process, and also when it comes to the price of the process. So, like PK said, I'll start with the spousal because I know that's what most people are concerned about. Me personally, file for make new and I'm here and see how do I do that. So, it depends firstly on where you are. So if you, the person in the U.S. citizen or permanent resident, are in the United States. So U.S. citizen meaning either maybe you were born here, or let's say that you came here by lottery and now you filed for citizenship, or maybe your parents filed for you when you were younger, now you're here, or maybe you got married and then got the green card and then became a citizen. You, that person, it depends on where you are, and also depends on where the person you're filing for is. So if the person you're filing for, let's say, I'll use myself as an example. Let's say I'm filing for my husband and my husband is in Ghana. How the process would be for me and him would be very different than how it would be for him if he was in the United States. That's the first thing. So right now, let's say I was filing for him and he's in Ghana. The first thing is we have to get married, because obviously you can't prove a marriage-based petition if there's no proof of a marriage. And this is the parts that I think I have to focus on primarily when it comes to Ghana, especially because I think, and I understand within our culture, we have the customary traditional marriage, which by all accounts and legal purposes is marriage. That is what Ghanaians see as marriage. But sometimes I think we have, maybe in this generation, diluted it to see it as just an engagement. And so we think that the US law sees it as just an engagement. That's not true. US law does see that what we call the traditional marriage, the engagements, they do see that as a marriage. And so if you've had that, if you've done customary marriage, if the drinks have been exchanged, if dowry has been exchanged and all of that, you are technically considered married in Ghana, then you're considered married in America. So you don't need to go to courts again when you come to America. You don't need to go to the church and all that. As long as you've done the customary and it's valid in Ghana, it's considered a marriage in America. So let's say you've done that. Let's say I've come to Ghana, I've done the customary for my husband, and now I'm coming back to America. Once I start the process, I need that customary marriage, the certificate, so the traditional marriage certificate, and I need to prove that the marriage, it's actually genuine. Because the thing is that America has caught on that people are getting married and the marriages are not genuine. Yeah, for Nkrata. It's just marriage-based petitions. It's just because, maybe you've been paid $15,000 just to marry the person, and that's all you're doing. So the burden is on the person to prove that, okay, this marriage is actually genuine. Now, it may be very true that the marriage is genuine, and some people find offense, like, okay, I have gone to Ghana, we paid this, we have pictures of the wedding. Why would I do this if it's not real? They don't care. You still have to convince them, because at the end of the day, it's a court, it's a legal matter. It's a case. You need evidence. So you need to submit that. You send that to immigration. Right now, it's taking about a year for them to make a decision on just that part. That's if you're a U.S. citizen. And I'll get to the green card parts in a second. So let's say that you're not a green card holder, your process would be different. But if you're not a U.S. citizen, your process will be different. So if you're a U.S. citizen, it'll take about a year. That's what most of my clients are seeing, about a year max, maybe 14 months. They'll say, okay, yes, we believe that, okay, Abna and Kwabna, your marriage is genuine. So then they will issue you an approval notice. Then they send the case to what's called NVC, National Visa Center. If you've ever done anything with immigration and ever had to file for anybody overseas, you've heard of that before. No one really likes them, okay? Because they usually ask you for the same things you've already submitted to USCIS. So USCIS is the people that you send the application to here in America. NVC, they're also in America, but their job is to just be like the middleman between America and the embassy, wherever your loved one is. Because there's embassies and consulates all over the world. And so once a case gets approved here, it goes to NVC, and NVC works with wherever the country that your loved one is in. So if your husband is in Kenya, if your husband is in Ghana, if your husband is in Ukraine, wherever, that's where they'll be working. That's the consulate they'll be working with. NVC will ask you to send them, proof of the marriage again. They'll ask you to send your financial documents. The U.S. citizen, they'll ask for your financial documents. For the person you're filing for, they'll ask for birth certificates, police certificates, all of those documents. And then you send it to NVC. Your case will stay at NVC until Ghana has an interview date available for you. And that's when most people end up becoming frustrated, because some people who work with lawyers feel as though the lawyer is wasting their time, or is taking their money, or the lawyer just didn't do the right thing. The issue is not with the lawyer. The issue is with the U.S. government. The NVC holds the case there. Pardon me. The issue is not with the U.S. government. The issue is with Ghana Embassy, the U.S. Embassy in Ghana. That's where the issue is, because they don't have interview dates available. And the reason why I say that is because I have clients. My clients are not just Ghanaians. I have clients from different parts of the world, right? I would say, like a global company. So my clients are not just Ghanaians. And I see the difference for my clients who are from Algeria, my clients who are from Spain, than I do with my clients who are from Ghana and Nigeria. Okay. So my Algeria clients, Northern Africa, NVC will get their case, will get their documents, and maybe 2 months later, they'll get the person in Algeria will get an interview scheduled, or the person in Spain will get an interview scheduled. NVC will get all the documents, they'll hold it, but for the person in Ghana, you're waiting, as of now, at least 2 years for an interview. 2 years from the date that NVC says everything that we need, we have. And so if you think about the process for a U.S. citizen filing for their spouse overseas, on a minimum, it's at least 3 years, minimum. 3 years from the day that Immigration in America receives the application. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is because currently, like I said, the first step takes about, let's say, 12 months to 14 months. Before you send your things to NBC, NBC gets everything that they need. They'll send you a notice telling you that we have everything we need. About your chain, let's Ghana call us. And if Ghana tells us that they have interview for you, we'll contact you again. You may hear nothing for 2 years. The frustrating part again is that though you hear nothing for 2 years, it is your responsibility, and this is the part that gets a lot of Ghanaians also in some mess sometimes, is it's your responsibility to maintain contact with NVC, even in that 2 years where you're not hearing anything. Because they see it as if you don't maintain contact with them, they will presume you've abandoned the case and you no longer want to proceed with the filing for your loved one. And so how would you maintain contact with them? You just have to log into the actual website. And once the case is approved, they'll send you all of these things. They'll send you a login, password, and all of that. You're just supposed to log in at least once a year to maintain contact, which means that you're still interested in the case. This, I know we're talking about spousal and fiance, but I'll add a little bit. This also applies if you're even filing for like your adult child. So if you're filing for your child who's 28, 29, their case is going to take a long time as well. That entire time that you're waiting for them to get an interview, you have to consistently log into NBC and maintain contact, because if you don't, they can see it as though you've abandoned the case, and anything that you've paid to them, anything that you've submitted to them, you'll have to do it all over again. Okay, so back to the spousal. So now let's say they called you, they've sent you, well, they won't call you, but they've sent you an email telling you that, okay, we have an interview date available for your husband. Wonderful. So now your husband has maybe like about 4 or 5 weeks, usually between the date you get the notice and the interview date, to actually get medical examination done. Now, the medical examination is not is not some random doctor that you know. So if your cousin's a doctor, sorry, it's not that person. It has to be someone who's authorized on the government website, and they usually will give you that guidance as to the doctors and the hospitals you can go to get this medical examination done. And see, if you have a cousin, like I said, or a sister somewhere who's a doctor, unfortunately, they can't do it for you. So you go to that person, they will complete the examination, they will put it in a sealed envelope. Sometimes they send it straight to the embassy, sometimes they'll give it to you. And your loved one, in this case, let's say your husband, has to have that and everything else, the marriage certificate, his birth certificate, let's say if he was divorced before, his divorce decree, let's say if maybe his previous spouse passed away, the death, all of it has to go with him to the interview. Now, at the interview, if he's successful, if all the questions are asked, and he's able to answer them, all the documents that they need, he's able to give to them, and he gets approved, he'll then get the immigrant's visa in his passport. So they'll actually issue you immigrant visa. It's usually not the same day, but you'll get the immigrant visa put in your passports, and then he'll be able to travel to the United States. I always tell people that just getting a visa does not guarantee admission. Doesn't mean that they'll allow you to come into the country. So a visa basically is like a permission slip. All it does is it allows the airline to let you board the plane. It allows the airline to let you fly to America. But it does not necessarily mean that when you get to America, the officer that you meet at the point of entry at the airport is going to say, Akwaba, welcome, have a good time. It does not guarantee that. And the reason why I say that is because some people have gotten visas, have gotten to America, and have still been denied and told to go back, and literally put on the plane the same day and sent back. So imagine if you took a 10-hour, 12-hour flight from Kotoka Airport to arrive in America, and you're taking another flights back the same day. That is a reality. So just having a visa in your passport does not mean that you'll be allowed to enter the United States. But let's say, you're able to, they allow you to come into the country, you come in, that person, technically, once they are admitted into the country, they are considered a permanent resident that day. That day. They won't get to the actual green card in the mail for about 3 weeks afterwards, but they are considered a green card holder that day. That's how the process works for filing for your spouse. Now, for your fiance, it's different. I said you can file for your spouse if you're a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. Again, the permanent resident process is similar, but the time frame is a lot longer. It's about 4 years just for the first parts. Just for them to say we believe that Abna and Kwabna's marriage is real, that can take up to 4 years right now. That's how long it's taking for most of my clients. Okay, and before you go through everything I just said, the fiance visa option is only available if you, the person that is filing for your fiance in Ghana, only if you are a U.S. citizen. If you're not a U.S. citizen, this is not for you. It's on that the privilege is only allowed or permitted for U.S. citizens to file for their fiance. That's number one. Number two, you have to have seen the person you want to file for at least once in the last 2 years. And so if you've been doing long distance relationship and WhatsApp relationship and Zoom dates and whatever for the past 6 years, and you haven't seen each other at least once in the last 2 years, unfortunately, you have to the person has to buy a flight and and fly to come and visit you in Ghana, or fly to visit you anywhere in the world. The person doesn't necessarily have to come and see you in Ghana. Maybe if you want to fly to Dubai together, if you want to meet in South Africa together, you can. As long as you have proof that you've seen each other at least once in the last 2 years, then the person can file for a fiancé visa for you if they're a U.S. citizen. The process is similar to the spousal one. The U.S. citizen will have to again submit proof to the U.S. government here that number one, that he or she's a U.S. citizen. Number two, they've seen you at least once in the last 2 years. Number three, that the relationship is actually genuine. And number four, most importantly, that they actually intend on marrying you. Both of you have to demonstrate that you have the intention of marrying each other. That's a key thing. And if let's say the person has been married before, any marriages anywhere in the world have ended. This is when I'll bring up the divorce parts, because that's usually is a big issue as well that I see consistently. Divorce in Ghana, or I should say almost anything in Ghana, I'm Ghanaian, so I think I can say this. We don't really document a lot of things, right? So you can give birth today and not get the birth certificate for like 15 years. That's our country. That's how things are. It is what it is. It's okay. It works for us. It does not work for America. So if you've been divorced, let's say culturally, the drinks that were exchanged have now been disexchanged. You've sent the drinks back, and you are considered divorced in your family, you're considered divorced in your culture. That's not enough for America. They want documentation. They want documentation. And so if you've ever stated that you're married before either someone can file for you as a spouse or someone can file for you as a fiance, you have to have proof that the previous marriages have ended, and you need solid proof that it's ended. If let's say you start the process and then it's determined that you have no proof that the marriage has ended, or that your previous relationships have ended, whatever you're doing now has to stop. It doesn't matter how far you've gone. It has to stop. You have to go back and do it all over again. And so before you get into anything, this is some of the things that I'll go into more details about it in October. But before you get into anything, as far as marriage or relationship-based petitions in America is concerned, have documentation about the end of any previous relationships. Whether it was a traditional marriage, if it was an ordinance marriage, and that one you should definitely get divorce decree from the higher courts. But if it's especially with the traditional marriages, I think sometimes we don't get the documentation. Now, someone might say, okay, you don't have the divorce decree like you would get from the high courts for an ordinance marriage. So what do I do? It goes back to culture. The patriarchs, so the fathers or the heads of the households on either side, and the American law, again, is aware of the Ghanaian culture and the Ghanaian law, and it's in the books here in America that if a person who did traditional marriage says that we don't have proof of divorce, they won't accept it, because they know that culturally, the patriarchs, the fathers, or the head of the families on either side can actually come to make an agreement and make an affidavit, puts down on paper that we, the head of the Abna family, I, the head of the Kabna family, we've accepted that this relationship that started on so and so date has been dissolved. The two of them are free to marry. It has to be documented officially. That is considered a divorce decree for the purposes of U.S. immigration process. And if you don't have that and you've ever been married, please go get it. Okay, it's very, very important. Very, very important. And the reason I say that is because I've had people who have come to the United States who have gotten married to U.S. citizens, and immigration has realized that you were once married when you were in Ghana, but we have no record of a divorce decree. And because of that, the marriage that you're in now, the U.S. citizen that is filing for you to get the green card now, all of this is invalid because your marriage, we have no proof that your marriage ever ended. So it's absolutely important, please make sure that you have proof of the divorce. So back to the fiance. The person has to be a U.S. citizen, has to have seen you at least once in the last 2 years, proof of a relationship, and an intention to get married, and then proof of all other relationships have ended. The person will do the same thing. They will send the application and the evidence to U.S. government. Right now, it's taking about 13 to 15 months is what I've seen for most of my clients. It's taking a little bit longer than the spousal one for you to get a decision as to whether immigration says, okay, this is a truthful relationship or this is not. Or, okay, we believe that you really want to get married, or we don't believe you. That takes just about 13 to 15 months. So if you were here in the beginning, you'll know that The spousal one is a little bit shorter than the fiance one. And that wasn't always the case. Because I get a lot of people asking me, okay, which one is faster? Which one's faster? People say I should do the fiance. Yes, 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 yes. I've come to say that yes, is not always right in this situation. There was a time where that was accurate. There was a time where fiance visa, yes, it did move faster than the spousal visa because the rationale, the reason behind the fiance visa was so that you could quickly come to America and get married. But now the process is taking about the same. And so personally, I usually suggest to people, if you're able to just get married, it probably makes more sense to do that. And you'll understand why. Fiancé visa, like I said, send the application. It's taking about 13, 15 months for it to be approved. Okay. It gets approved. They say, truly, we believe Abna and Kwabna, excuse me, yeah, Abna and Kwabna, you are fiancés. So then they'll send the case again to the National Visa Center. Then you, in this case, let's say Abna is the one that's the fiancé that's in Ghana. Abna will then get a note on an email telling that an email from the embassy in Ghana that we've received the application. You are the beneficiary of an approved fiance application. Okay, Kwabna will also receive notice that yes, Ghana has received your case. And even that's between America approving and Ghana receiving and Ghana telling you that they received it, there's a time frame. There's a little bit of a wait. Again, a lot of things in Ghana, unfortunately, is slow. To put it plainly, it's slow. And so when you're working, either if you're doing it yourself, which I usually don't recommend, or if you're working with an attorney, you need a lot of patience when it comes to working with the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, because a lot of things move really, really slowly. You can file the petition, get the fiance petition approved, and just for Ghana to receive it and tell you that we received it and assigned you a case number can take a little bit of a few months, about 4 months. Okay. Once they I guess I'm getting questions already. They inform you that they received your case and that you have been assigned a case number. Similar process. You're going to now Abna's going to complete the fiance visa application online. Okay, complete that application, pay the fee online. The fee is a little different than if she was let's say if she was a spouse. The fee is a little different than if she was a spouse, but she'll pay a fee online for the fiance visa. Similar process. You'll get documents. You'll have to prove, get your police certificate, your medical records, and all of that, and then you'll go to the interview just like the spousal one. The difference with the fiance is at the interview, if you're approved, you get a spousal visa. Excuse me, you get a fiance visa, a K1 fiance visa. Okay, that's what you'll get. You get that in your passport. You fly to America. Whereas the spousal visa, when they allow you into the country, your process is technically done. With the fiance visa, it's not. Because you've now gotten the visa, you've come into America, but understand that the visa was only given to you for you to come and get married. So you're not done yet. You don't have a green card, you don't have anything. All you have is a permission slip to come and get married, which is great. If maybe all of your life, all you've ever wanted was to get married in New York City with the Statue of Liberty sitting behind you, then it's great. Then it satisfies the purpose. But if you really don't care where you get married, fiance visa really may not be the best option for you, especially because you come here to continue the process. What I mean by that is you're now coming to get married. I don't know how many people are familiar with it. There's this show, they call it 90 Day Fiance here in America, but the whole basis of the show is based on the fiance visa, because the law says if a person enters the United States with a fiance visa, you have to get married to the person who filed for you within 90 days. So if you arrive in America, let's say October 1st, within 90 days, I'm not the best at math, but counts 90 days from that, which is about 3 months, you have to get married to the person who filed for you. If you do not get married to the person who filed for you, you're supposed to get back on a plane and leave the United States and go back home. There's nothing that can be done for you here in the United States. No one else can file for you, even if, let's say, you get married to somebody else. They can file for you, but you won't be able to complete the process in the United States. You still would have to go back to Ghana to complete the process. That's if you don't marry the person who filed for you. That's what the law says. They don't play about it. There's no exceptions. That's just what it is. So let's say you come and you decide to get married maybe day 3, which is usually what I suggest to people. The marriage doesn't have to be, the full-on kente and the white dress. It doesn't have to be that. Just for the purposes of the immigration process, it really could just be at City Hall. It could be a small, intimate wedding. It could be something, as long as you get married and it's an accurate and legitimate marriage, you're fine. It does not have to be any elaborate thing. If you want to do an elaborate thing, by all means, go ahead. But if you, so most people that I've dealt with want to just do something, get the process started, get their work permits, and then save some money and then do the wedding that they want to have, which makes sense. It truthfully makes sense. So once you get married, remember I said the process continues. You are now coming to file for the green card. That's when you would submit the application for a green card and submit application for work authorization, your work permits. And then that takes some time depending on the states that you're living in, depending on the officer that gets your case, depending on many different factors. Your case could be either in 6 weeks, 6 months, a year before you get your green card. Whereas with the spousal one, once you get the visa, once you enter the United States and they allow you in, you're done. You're done. But with the fiance, you get married, you file the paperwork, and you continue going through the process until you get the decision, you get the green card in the mail. Now, with both of them, one of the things that are similar about both of them is once you do get married, whether it's fiance or the spousal, if your marriage, let's say, is less than 2 years at the time that you get your green card, you would only get a green card for 2 years. They call it a conditional green card. Okay. So if you come to the United States on a fiance visa, you're definitely getting a conditional green card. Definitely, because your marriage is not going to be, but usually it's not going to be more than 2 years. By the time they approve you for your green card, your marriage is going to definitely be less than 2 years old. For the spousal one, it depends. Maybe you got married years ago and now your spouse is filing for you. So if you've been married more than 2 years and then you get your green card, then you won't get the conditional, you'll get the 10-year green card right away. No issue. The 2-year green card, they call it conditional because, like, I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but America doesn't believe anyone's marriage is real. That's just what it is. Okay, they've seen enough, they've seen a lot, that the law says that they're supposed to assume that the marriage is not real. The burden is on you, the person applying for it, to prove to them that this marriage is real. And so if you get approved, they give you a 2 years condition, basically saying, go and try it and come back and we'll see. If you're still together after the 2 years, okay, fine. Then we'll give you the 10 years. But if you're not together after the 2 years, then basically you proved our point. We were right. The marriage isn't real. That's kind of what the rationale is behind the conditional green card. Is the conditions are, if you're still married after the 2 years, then you can file to get the conditions removed, and then you can get your 10-year green card. That's not to say that if you're not still married after the 2 years, you can't get the 10-year green card by yourself. You can. It's just a lot more difficult and a little bit more complicated because you've kind of proven their points. That's maybe the marriage was not real. That's not to say that it wasn't. Some marriages have issues. It's life. But usually, again, the law, unfortunately, does not give you the benefit of the doubt. But people are able to. Let's say you do get married, your marriage is less than 2 years, you get the conditional green card, but maybe 19 months into the marriage, just before the 2-year anniversary, something happens and the relationship ends, you get divorced or what have you, you can still file by yourself and get the green card by yourself, but it's a little bit more complicated. And that is where I will stop now for questions.
Wow, beautiful.
I know. It's a lot.
I'm gonna start off by reading the questions that we have. Let me go off YouTube first because I saw this question. So this is from George Amwakon. George Amwakon says, greetings from New Jersey. That is from George Amwakon. And on Facebook, we do have some couple questions. Then after that, I'll come to the Zoom questions. Dennis Yabwa says, I am from Ghana and I am a green card holder. I got married to my wife in the Roman Catholic Church in Ghana. Just want to know if the marriage certificate given to me by the Roman Catholic Church is legit to be used to process for my spousal visa, or I need a marriage certificate from court.
You need a government issued certificate. So it's not just a church one. It has to be government issued, backed and authorized by the government.
Okay. That answers your question, Dennis. Nazil says, how about a citizen filing for siblings? That is our next topic. So next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about parents filing for their children, and also yes, and also siblings filing for their siblings, or people filing for their siblings. So we're going to do the parents and children and siblings filing next 2 weeks. Then the week after that, we'll do the student visa one. All right. So now that was your question. And okay, she said thank you. So now we're gonna go to the Zoom part and ask the Zoom questions. After that, we're gonna ask people to those who want to talk to talk. Oba, I see you. Just give me a second. Oseakoto says, I was a bit late and did not get to know the requirements. Could you please enlighten us more or repeat it? Osakoto, we will not repeat it. It's already on the show. If after the show you can play back and we're happy because I mean just to be fair to the rest of us, if anybody also showed up 5 minutes later, it's like since let's repeat it, then we'll never get to the point where we want to get to. So please, after the show, you can have it on. It's live on Facebook. It's still gonna be there. Tata Percent Facebook, HITV Facebook, even my personal Facebook, Procure for Essential, and also on YouTube, HITV. So you can pull it over there, and the Glory TV too. Is all people. It's all over the place. You can go back and watch it, please. Ella Duncan says, "What are examples that a person would be denied entry once approved for a visa?"
Your intentions. So let's say you're coming on a fiancé visa, right? But they, for some reason, have suspicions, and so they decide to go through your phone. And maybe in your text message, you're having a conversation that, yeah, I'm not even trying to marry this girl. I just want to come to America. They could deny you entry because of that. Let's say if your previous, immigration history, because everything, that's one thing I think I should have said in the beginning, everything that you ever do with U.S. immigration, they have a copy of. They don't forget anything. You may not have a copy of it. You may have forgotten. And I have several clients like that who, and usually when I people call me, I ask them, have you ever filed anything with immigration ever before? Has anyone ever filed anything for you before? Because you may not remember, but they do. There's a specific form. It's called FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. With your signature, I can literally request every single record having to do with you and the U.S. immigration system since forever, and I would be able to get all of that. And that's to say that they have copies of everything. So if you've ever done anything in the past, if there's any discrepancies in your immigration history, maybe the officer in the embassy in Ghana didn't catch it, but it's seen in the system, you can be denied admission into the country because the U.S. sees it as they have the right to protect their country and deny access if need be.
All right. We're going to go to Jab. Jab says, please, you mentioned one needs to demonstrate proof of customary marriage with a certificate. How do one secure one as a Ghanaian? Because this is new to me.
So I know most people do the traditional, and you can actually register it with the court. I have a few colleagues that are attorneys in Ghana, and I usually leave that with them to do because I'm not going to pretend to say I practice anything with Ghana law. But I do know it's possible, and I do know that you can register your traditional marriage with the courts, and you would get some sort of documentation. If not, you can also have, again, the affidavit by the patriarchs in the family, something that documents that your marriage is actually has occurred. Because if you don't, and I say that because some people don't believe or don't want to do an ordinance marriage, and by Ghanaian culture, you're not required to, right? I mean, I think with all due respect, the whole church or white wedding is not necessarily Ghanaian culture. Our culture is customary marriage, traditional marriage, dowry, and all of that. And the U.S. government recognizes that as marriage. And so if you can provide proof of that, then you're good. If you don't want to do that either, then by all means, ordinance marriage is the way to go.
All right. Beautiful. At this point, we're going to open up the Zoom for people to ask the questions. So, Bob, you can go ahead and start first. Then after that, anybody else that has a question, please put the hand emoji up or the reaction emoji, and I will call you. And once more questions keep coming, I will ask the questions as we go on. Oh, Bob, before you speak, we got one more from Kaswaman. Kaswaman says, I have a friend who came to the U.S. about 17 years ago. Due to the documentation, his mom was entered as his auntie, but now he wants to file for his mom. But this is not spousal. This is parents. So we're gonna treat that the next 2 weeks. Kaswaman, please. Yeah, just for the sake of her time, we want to make sure that we respect that as well as those who have questions concerning just spousal and fiancé. Next 2 weeks we'll treat spouse, children, parents, siblings, we'll put all together and just make it better for them. OT says, what condition will prevent a person from getting his 10 years though still married with the spouse? Quentin.
What if you're still married to the spouse after 2 years and you file for your 10-year green card, you shouldn't be denied unless they determine that the marriage is not real. So actually, great question, because then I can now talk about this. Immigration here in the United States, they do house calls. And now that, as of April 1st of this year, immigration fees went up significantly. Something that used to be $535 is now $675. Something that once was $1,225 is now $1,440. That money is resources. That money is what they're using to hire more people, to be able to go out, and if they need to hire more fraud investigators, they can, and they do. So they do have people who can show up to the home. And I tell people all the time, they won't come and say, hi, how are you doing, and come and visit you. They'll go to your neighbor. And so one of the things that people usually submit as proof of their real relationship is that, oh, we live together. Well, they're going to go and ask your neighbor, yeah, have you ever seen Abna come into this house before? And if Ikea says, no, I've only ever seen Kwabna, then you have an issue. Right. So that's what I mean by what could actually affect your ability to get a 10-year green card. Just because you've stayed in the marriage past the 2 years does not necessarily mean it's a straight shot. It's easy. It's easier than if you were filing by yourself. Yes, definitely. But it's not necessarily easy because now they're looking for additional evidence since the day you got your 2-year green card. So if you entered the United States, let's say today, August 26, 2024. 2 years from now, 2026 is about the time you'll be filing for the 10-year green card. Around that time. So they're going to look for what has transpired in the relationship since the last 2 years. Have children been born? Have you traveled? What has happened? Because we want to see that you didn't just get married, get the green card, and there's nothing going on between the two of you. Right. So if there's no evidence that your life together continued after you got the green card, then you can best believe that you probably would get denied. Or at the very least, they will send people to your home, send people to your work, and all of that. And it's the federal government. Okay. That's one thing that most people, when they come to the country, don't realize. The reason why I'm able to represent clients anywhere in this country is because it's federal law. It's the same thing whether you're in New Jersey, Massachusetts, Washington State, Texas, it's the same law. And so they have the resources available. They can contact, if you're filing your taxes with IRS. IRS is federal government. Okay, if you're going to get a driver's license, you're getting a driver's license through your states. The state has to report these things to the federal government. If you buy a flight ticket is federal. So a lot of things that you do on a day-to-day basis does trickle back down to the federal government. So it's easy for them to find out easily if something's not consistent. And if something's not consistent, let's say in your taxes or in where you say you live and things like that, you could get denied for the 10-year green card, even if you're still married and living together, or you say you're living together.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to read Delali's comment and Noba is going to speak. Delali says Roman Catholic marriage certificate is gazetted under the ordinance cap 127, so it's legit. That's what she used. He or she used. Because I think Delali can be both, right? All right, Oba. After Oba, then Jab will speak. Oba.
Hello, my sister-in-law, beautiful
Hi.
lady. So quick one. I have a situation whereby the lady is in an abusive relationship with the man that's doing her papers for her. They are married, legit married. However, she's in a physically abusive, mentally, emotionally abusive relationship with this man. Because she's fearful of leaving and basically compromising her paper, she's still staying in this relationship. Is there anything to be done for people in this situation whereby, their life is at stake and, they're illegal, but yet, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what can she possibly do in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. One great question. There's actually a program that was created specifically for that purpose. It's called Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA.
Oh,
Now it says Women's Act in the law because of how the law was created and the original intention of the law years ago, but it does apply to any gender. And so it's for people who it's not even just a spouse of a US citizen, it's also a spouse of a permanent resident or even a parent of a US citizen. So if if you're a parent of a child or if you are a spouse of a child, spouse of a US citizen or permanent resident and you are being abused, then you do have an avenue to get permanent residence on your own. Now, it's primarily evidentiary based. And the reason I say that is the law has created in such a way that the perpetrator, the person who's the abuser, is not going to know that you're filing this thing, because the whole goal of it is to protect the person, the victim. So they're not going to know that you filed this. They're not going to know that you're saying these things about them. And so because of that, one would say it's like a one-sided story. And so your evidence has to be secure. Your evidence has to be intact. So number one, you'd have to prove that the marriage is genuine. So even if the person is abusing you, you do have to prove that the marriage at its inception, when you got married to this person, it was a genuine marriage. And then you need evidence of the abuse. And that can vary, because abuse is not, abuse is subjective. Something that may be painful to me may not be painful to somebody else. So there's not a one size fits all definition of abuse. But abuse can be emotional, it can be psychological, it can be physical, obviously, different kinds of abuse. So if you're able to document that, then yeah, she would be able to. And it doesn't even have to be, I've actually won a pretty complex case like that, where I had a client in that situation, and culturally, we are Ghanaians, we're not picking up the phone calling the police. We just don't do that. It's just not a thing. We solve things amongst ourselves, and again, that's usually how things are done. And so this person in that situation didn't have a police report, right? She didn't run to the hospital with her bruises and things like that. So her case was very complicated, because generally those are some of the things that makes it easier to prove the abuse. Okay, if you have the police and they write reports that on X, Y, and Z dates they came to the house and they had to separate you and this person, that's an objective evidence. No one's going to challenge a police. If you have medical records that shows that, okay, this person came into the hospital on Tuesday and her eye was black and her leg was broken and all these things, obviously objective evidence. But in a culture where we don't always do that, sometimes it's harder. What we do is we run to church. We tell our pastor. So pastor can write an affidavit, right? We tell our girlfriends can write an affidavit. We basically make use of the evidence that you do have available. I think that's usually when people contact us, because they see it as, okay, I don't have police reports, I don't have medical reports. What can I do? Well, number one, get out of the relationship. You don't need to stay in the home. Your safety is what's important, and that's why this law was created. The person threatening you, and you can use a person's actions as evidence. So if he's texting you or she's texting you saying that, bro, take a screenshot. That's evidence. That's a threat. That's a threat right there. Like, I'm the lawyer saying that, send that to me the day you get it, because that's what I need to build my case. But yeah, there's definitely avenues. The main thing I would say is, if you do get out of the relationship, which you should, and if you do divorce, you have to file for the VAWA within 2 years of the divorce. Anything more than that, and you lose that opportunity too. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Abba, for your question. Jab, you next. Then after Jab, we're gonna go to Mafia. Then after Mafia, we're gonna go back to reading some more questions.
Good evening, PK and lawyer.
Good evening.
Thank you too for your wonderful work. Lawyer, I have a quick question. My question is, I'm using a friend's case to ask this question.
Okay.
A friend invited her spouse from Ghana. That was the initial invitation was a B2 visa, which the spouse was supposed to attend the wife's graduation, but unfortunately was denied. Mind you, the marriage was a customary marriage, but the guy was not asked about proof of marriage during the interview. Moving forward, the lady invited the guy again, but this one on an F2 visa. And when the guy got the second interview, that was a year after, he went there and he was asked about their marriage, but then they have done the ordinance. So this one, the guy went with the ordinance certificate. So he thought everything was all right, but the officer told him, oh, wait a moment, you've been here before proving marriage, but with this certificate, it seems the marriage is recent. So there was contradictions, and the guy told me, yes, we were legally married customarily, but with that one, I don't have any certificate, but this is the ordinance. And he said the spouse was denied. He went there again, a different officer, and the same issue was raised regarding the marriage, and he was denied again. So in such a case, what will be your advice? Because I assume the customary is legal. This ordinance is also legal. But due to these two different dates and this contradiction, the guy is receiving
Lawyer, before you respond, Jab, I will suggest that we probably get lawyers' contact information and have your friend call and just, first of all, get a consultation in. And maybe there's something that you're missing that he or she probably didn't tell you. So that lawyer can probably have that one-on-one conversation with them rather than dealing with this surfacely
Yeah,
on
but my
the
whole
platform.
scenario is if somebody has two different dates, we know Ghana people do customary marriage and some years or days later they do ordinance. So in such case, which certificate do you prove at the embassy?
PK,
Right.
can I say something real
Go
quick?
ahead.
So the issue with the first denial has nothing to do with the marriage certificate. It's because you said that the guy's wife was filing for an invitation for him to come to
Graduation.
America for graduation.
Yes.
So that's the reason it was denied, because when you're filing for a visitor's visa, it's a non-immigrant's visa. You have to prove that you're going to return to Ghana after you go and do whatever you say you're going to go and do. The fact that his spouse, his wife, is the one saying come to America is why they denied it, because they don't believe he's going to return to Ghana. It has nothing to do with the ordinance. Again, and like PK said, there's big holes in the story that obviously only the person could fill. But that's why that first, just even without talking to the person, I can tell you that if you're telling me that your U.S. citizen or your green card holder spouse is sending invitation for you to join them in America on a visitor's visa, there's a good chance you're going to get denied, because a visitor's visa,
Non-immigrants.
non-immigrant, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah, that's visitor.
Non-immigrant. Yeah,
Yeah,
visitors.
correct. And that's why he got denied, because non-immigrants visa, you're supposed to show that you have non-immigrants intent, meaning that you're not going to come to America and stay. For a person filing for you to come to America for what I was discussing about the spousal visa, that's immigrant intent, meaning you're going to come to stay. So if the person is saying that the U.S. citizen who knows that I can file for him to come to stay, and telling you that he's going to come just to visit, they don't believe that.
Actually, the person is not a U.S. citizen. The person is a student, right? So, like F2, like spousal invitation.
So then the person in America is an F1, not F2.
Yeah, F1. And
Okay.
the husband was supposed to be F2. But
Correct.
when the person went there, they didn't ask anything related to the student, but they asked about the marriage, that, oh, you've been here previously demonstrating marriage with this same person some year ago, but with this, your certificate is just a recent marriage. Does it mean previously when you came that you were attending that graduation, you were not married?
There's missing information that's not making the story complete. So I would need to talk to the person, because there's something related to that first interview that's not provided now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
And one thing I'll add to it before we proceed to the next question is sometimes you go to the interviews, they will not ask the question. That doesn't mean they've not looked at your document. When you fill out the application, filling out the application right in the first place is a step for you to get your visa. If the application is wrong, they'll already deny you before you even showing up. It will take a miracle for them to even like, let me give this person a chance to prove themselves right. All right, let's go to Mafia. Mafia.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, so yeah, I'm aware you mentioned that we'll talk about the F1 visa. So that's not the main question I want to ask. Here's the issue. So I went to the US 2 years ago. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you perfectly loud and clear.
I went to the US 2 years ago on F1 student visa, and I went there as an undergrad student. So I had technically 4 years, and my student visa is still is not expired. But what ended up happening was, because of so many multiple reasons, I had to do a compassionate withdrawal to come back to Ghana rather than just stay. That was just because of personal, like, what some would say mental health issues, and also finances, multiple issues. So I thought it best to just come home and figure things out. But what ended up happening when I came back home was that, the finances, it's just that thing where, like, oh, we don't understand, like, African parents. How can you tell us you go there and you have mental health issues? It was just not adding up for them. So they were like, well, then we're not letting you go back for you to get stressed out. But what ended up the slight twist or blessing to the story was that there was this guy who there's a potential spouse in the picture. And right now, what I'm looking back, I'm so since there's a potential spouse and since I still don't know whether I would get to go to school, since like with the F1 you need to prove like you are going to fund your schooling, and I'm not sure of that now. And so if the relationship is to move forward, I don't know whether it will be best, judging with the way interview dates are short. Interview dates are completely booked. I don't know whether going on the fiancé visa, the spousal visa. I don't know which would be best, and I don't know how transitioning works now that I'm in Ghana. So can I have your input? If we are to get married, whether it's best to get married here and then move back, or judging that I already have my student visa, which is still intact. Only thing I don't have is that I-20.
So what I would say is don't consider that you have a student visa because you don't. So in your
Okay.
passport, I'm sure you have a document that says it expires maybe 2026. But your
Yeah.
ability to come to the United States is based on the I-20 that you no longer have. So technically you don't have a student visa. That's
Okay.
that. As to whether it's spousal or fiance, it's gonna come down to you and your fiance and what you want to do as far as where you want to get married. Like I explained earlier in the I guess in the call, it's completely up to you because the processes are the same, the time frames are pretty similar. It's completely up to you. Maybe if you want to get married in front of the Statue of Liberty, then okay, fiance visa. If you want to get married in Vegas, fiance visa. If you want to get married, and go at Cape Coast, then just do the spousal one. So, but the processes are the same. But I will say that one of the big differences is the cost, the fee. So if you do the spousal, you're not paying for the green card application in America. Green card application in America right now is $1,440. And then the work authorization application is $260. That's after you get here. And before you get here, you've already paid some other fees, right? But if you do the spousal one, you're not paying those fees because you get here as a green card holder already. So hopefully that helps with your decision. But I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you very much.
Hope you're feeling better than I get the mental health thing. I get it.
So
Yeah.
now
Thank you.
thank you, Mafia. Now we have to circle back to you after reading some comments because I don't want to comment pile up too long. Let me start up from where did I get lost? Okay, so Mafia's question was, oh, Mafia, you already asked your question. I think that was it.
Thank you.
Okay. There we go to Heather Phipps. Heather Phipps says, thank you so much, Rada, I am a U.S. citizen and living in California and dating a man in Ghana. We plan to get married, so I'll be contacting you about hiring you to help us with spousal immigration process. Is this your correct office number? I don't know how. Is that your number? Yeah.
508-439-4445. Yeah, that's
Oh, well, she got it then.
Yeah,
Wow.
you're good.
Heather, she's doing her research because we were gonna put the information out later. So I just want to make sure. Okay. Now goes like, can you file for your fiancé who is already living in the States for over 5 years? Legit question.
No, you get married because the whole purpose of the fiancé visa is for the person to come to America to get married. So if the person's already here, just get married. But you can file for them once you're married to them, whether you're a U.S. citizen or you're permanent resident. So yeah, get married.
Okay. All right. Ella Donko says, if someone filed a petition in June 2023 and received a petition receipt in July 2023, however, they have not received adjudication at this time, they are using an attorney and asked to check the status, but he doesn't want to. The petitioner can't log into the USCIS account to check either. Is this normal? As a lawyer, I need a gangster visa.
Like, hey, lawyer, man, I'll say one check it. Wait, hold on. Do you owe the lawyer money? Can I, because That's the only thing I can think. Either that or the person is not necessarily a lawyer. Because and that's one thing, if I can say that, that's one thing that separates, well, at least myself, from people that are like form fillers, right? We have the bar association. For me to actually say I'm an attorney and put ESQ after my name, I had to take a bar exam and make an oath to the government and uphold something. So I have some privileges like that. I can subpoena
She
somebody to
said paid in
court.
full.
I'm sorry, paid in
She said,
then it's possible. Oh, I'm really sorry. Then it's possible that the person may not be a lawyer. Okay, if you can answer me this question, when you receive the any notices from immigration, do you see your lawyer's name CC'd at the bottom? Usually on the left hand side of anything you've received from immigration. Because usually what happens is my clients, whenever they receive anything from immigration, it says I'm copied on it because I get a copy of everything that they send to my clients. Because the law in America is that if someone has legal representation, you're not authorized to contact the clients directly without informing the attorney. So most of my clients don't receive anything without me at least knowing about it. So if your lawyer is not getting things the same way you're getting things, and maybe they're not a lawyer, and the reason I say that is when you file for a lawyer files for you, they're supposed to send what's called a G-28. It's the form that you sign that authorizes your lawyer to even handle the case. And it's communicating to immigration that this is a person I've designated to be associated with my case. And so send them anything that relates to my case. If they need to call and follow up, they can call without me being on the phone. They can handle my case without me present. That's the benefit of hiring a lawyer. So I would ask those questions. I would ask the lawyer what his or her bar license number is, because a lot of people see immigration as though it's just paperwork or just forms, and it's really not. If it was, we wouldn't go to law school to do it. It's a legal thing. You're building a case. And so some people sometimes, and I get it because sometimes it's expensive, but value is what you pay for, right? So they like to get people to help them that may not necessarily be lawyers, because there's no way that I think a legitimate lawyer should be refusing to check the status of your case for you, especially if you've paid them in full.
right.
Because
She said she would have to ask them to
yeah,
see. All right. So go to Kwabena Menu. Kwabena Menu says, my cousin's wife immigration visa was approved by the NVC in May and forwarded to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana the same month of May. It is more than 1 year now. What should he do?
your case is not at the NBC. It's probably still. I'm sorry, your case is not in Ghana. It's probably still the NBC. I'm just going to assume it's not in Ghana, because the case stays at the NBC until Ghana has a date available. So if you log into your CEAC portal, and you look at the top, if it says at NVC, then your case is still at NVC. It hasn't moved. If it says what you may be looking at, which is what I realize most people are looking at, that it says Ghana, like the embassy says, it says embassy, then it says Ghana. That's just the country that's handling the case, or the country that you decided to do the interview at. But that doesn't mean that that's where the case is. If you look above that, usually it says at NVC. And if your case was forwarded to NBC a year ago, right now it's about a 2-year wait for an interview. So nothing. You just have to wait, unfortunately.
Okay. I got a question from Facebook, and this is coming from Margaret Hebb's um, worst enemy, the corrupt Capito, Pusimensa Capito. And he
Okay.
asks, can you change your fiancé visa application to spousal in the middle of the process?
It depends on where in the process you are.
Mm.
If you haven't filed it yet, then yes, you can get married and then file a spousal petition. If you've already filed it and then you get married, well, then you've now invalidated that fiancé visa application. So you're gonna have to start all over again. So you can't change in the middle. You have to literally start over.
And Ekata Norman says, can we have lawyer's contact? Yes, I'm going to post lawyer's contact. So just give me a second and you guys will all get it. It will be coming soon. All right. We almost done with the questions over here. Oh, another one just popped up in the chat again. Oh, Kelcheesy, stop laughing. Also, Imran, that question was about the lawyer don't want to check the status.
Yeah.
Lawyer, they a gangster. I'm a feeling lawyer understand behavior. Now it says, can you file with a remote marriage certificate?
I'm not sure I'm
What
familiar with the
What
remote
is a
marriage
remote marriage?
certificate. I don't think I know what that. You mean a marriage by proxy, where you're not there and two people stand in the gap for you and sign the paperwork?
Oh,
I think that's what that's what I understand the question to be. Oh, marriage by proxy. If the country that you are that you're getting married in, which is Ghana, recognizes that, then yes, I believe I know they do that for divorce. I
She
can't say
said
off the top of my.
yes.
That's she's talking about marriage by proxy. Then yeah, I believe that's valid for divorces. As I say here right now, I can't guarantee that it is for marriage. I say maybe, but I don't know off the top of my head. But as long as
Okay.
it's recognized by the Ghanaian government and it's legitimate in the eyes of the U.S.
Aaron Kwashi says, I am Aaron from Accra, Ghana. I would like to know if remote vow that's online marriage is legit to file for a spousal visa or K1 visa. Thank you. I think it's the same thing that you just explained.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna go to I think who was next in line now, right? If I'm not mistaken. Okay, producer said yes. Now you can go ahead and mute yourself and ask your question. We have about 20 minutes, so please let's take advantage of that and ask all the questions that we have. And I am going to be putting lawyers' information, contact information in there so that people can go ahead and message her and get some consultation booked so that you can get all your questions answered. Now, if you're not ready to speak, now if you're not ready, then the next person can unmute himself and ask the question. Unless now is ready. All right. So I'll say, whilst we're waiting for other people to gather the thought and ask the questions, is there anything? Oh, Na said her question has been answered. I'm sorry. Thank you, Na. Anybody else has any question before we proceed? Any more questions? All right. So, Lawyer Frimpong, let me put it that way because I don't like calling people their titles and their first name. It's kind of weird. Can you just give us, in a nutshell, and also, I know you did talk about the spousal and the fiancé and kind of, compared a little bit, but can you just, give us a nutshell overview summary and just oppose the two and let us know which one would be more beneficial and cost effective to do? Then we'll wrap it up with that one. If there should be another question that comes up, I'll still go ahead and ask it. If not, then we'll wrap it up with it.
Sure. So the processes are the same in the sense that you file a petition here in the United States. So both processes start here in the U.S. An application is sent to the U.S. government here. They process it. Right now, application process in time is also similar. Spousal takes about 12 months, max maybe 13, 14. Fiancé is taking at least 14. I have not seen a fiancé visa come in that's taken less than that time for it to be approved. So once either one of them get approved, they are both going to go through the same process, go to NBC, and then ultimately end up with an interview in Ghana. Interview is going to be similar. You're proving the relationship is real. At the approval stage, one person will get an immigrant visa, which is for a spouse. The other one would get a non-immigrant visa, which is for a fiance. Both people can come to the United States. One person's process will end once they enter the United States, which is a spouse. The process basically is over. They get a green card in the mail about 3 weeks later. The fiance's process is going to continue after they enter the United States because they now have to go get married and then file for the green card application. The comparison, well, at least that's how they're similar. How they're different is the cost. For both of them, you're paying $675 here in the United States to start the process. So the petition is going to go into the mail with either a check or money order or what have you for $675. It's going to come back with an approval. Then you're going to pay if it's a spousal, you're going to pay the immigrant's visa fee, which I believe is $325. Don't quote me. If it's a fiance, you're going to pay the fiance visa fee, which is a little bit less than that. Okay. Then you're going to go to the interview stage. Both of them, you're going to pay medical examination fee. That depends on the physician you see in Ghana. So that fee may be different. Then you go through the entire process. The spousal visa, you're going to pay another processing fee. After you get the actual immigrant visa and you get approved and you're about to come to America, you'll pay for another fee, which is not, I think about $500 and change, about $500 or so. And that's just for them to process everything and actually to issue you your green card when you get to America. You can pay that fee after you get to America, but then it takes a little bit longer. So most people, myself, I'll suggest to pay for it before you come, so that when you come 3 weeks spot, you get your green card and you're on your way. The fiance visa, once you get it approved and you get the visa, you're not paying anything else. You're just coming to America. You get to America, you go get married. So if you're trying to, have a big wedding, you have to pay for the wedding. Or if you're doing something at City Hall, you pay for whatever the city's fees are. After that, you have to pay for the green card application fee, which, like I said, is $1,440. And then you also pay for the work authorization fee, which is $260. So if you're comparing the two, um, cost effective wise, spousal makes more sense. But let's say you're not able to, the person in America is not able to travel to Ghana to go get married, or they're not able to travel anywhere to go get married, then obviously fiance is the only option. So it comes down to, is the US, two things. Is the person that's filing, are they a US citizen? If they are a US citizen, then you decide either spouse or fiance. If they're not a US citizen, then the only option you have is the spousal. Because if the person you're about to marry or you're married to is not a US citizen, then they're permanent residents. You can't do fiance. So that's how you do the assessment. One, where do we want to get married? Do we care if it's either Las Vegas or if it's Cape Coast? If you don't really have a preference. Two, as far as cost, balance it out and see where the pricing and your budget is. And three, what is the actual status of the person who's filing for you? If they're not a US citizen, then you have to do marriage. If they are a US citizen, then you can either do fiance or marriage. So that's generally how the assessment works.
All right. Well, we still have about 5 minutes. If anybody else has any question, you can please bring your questions now. You're gonna forever hold your peace for another probably 3 to 4 months before you can ask questions concerning spousal and fiancé visa, because next 2 weeks is gonna be spouse, parents, and dependent. I mean, not did I say spouse? No,
It's a spouse, yeah.
not spouse.
It's
Yeah, I'm
family based,
sorry.
yeah. So
Yeah, family.
parents and
So it's gonna
children.
be children, siblings, and parents. Yes, children, siblings, and parents. So please, um, keep your
I will say
questions.
that the number provided, that's to my office. So I do have assistants that work with me. So if you're calling, I'm not the one answering that phone. So just keep in mind that that's to my office. So you just talk to them and they'll help you set up a time, and then we can chat further.
Yes, and please, when you call, do let the assistant know that you watch it on Time with Tata Send on HRTV, and if there's it should be any discount, lawyer Mr. Rob, Titi so who more na bibia enye kama. At this point, is J1
Oh,
visa also one of the visas?
That's more of students. That's an exchange
So
student visa.
student visa topic is going to be not next 2 weeks, but next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The week after the family base filing. All right. So I heard someone's voice.
Yeah.
oh, it was me, PK. So I believe my sister is going to be in Ghana for a program. So this is not only limited to just Ghanaians abroad, but I just want those who are listening right now to let them know, be on the lookout for her. She is going to do a little seminar in Ghana. So stay tuned. For further information, you can definitely reach out to PK or myself. But she is, so if you have family members in Ghana who have immigration questions, please make sure
ɛna
Yeah,
ɔfaale ma
Cabrofo, why Cabrofo.
Oh, Meti, I say,
oh,
match
okay.
on Nako so
And we have people on the platform who do
Oh,
not understand the
okay.
local language.
So I'm saying my brother filed for the
Mhm,
wife. My brother is a citizen and he
mhm.
filed for the wife. Everything went through and NVC sent documents to Ghana embassy. I thought they have to schedule her before they send the case. But in this case, they didn't schedule her, but they sent the case to NVC. So we saw that the case has been sent to NVC without interview date. And we've tried to reach out to the embassy. They said we should go out there, we should go and then look for date for interview. It baffles me a lot because I don't think that is the process. I don't know whether the process has changed or something, but then I thought they should give her the interview date. If they deny her, then that is where she can go out there another time to look for interview date. But in this case, they have not given her interview date. They just sent the case to NVC. Is that the process now or
I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So he sends the case to NVC or the embassy?
no? NVC sent the case to Ghana Embassy
Okay.
without
Okay.
interview date
And how do you know that the case was sent to embassy?
because we've been checking the case online.
Okay.
We've been checking it and we've contacted Ghana Embassy and they are saying we should go and look for date.
Okay. That
We've
doesn't.
contacted NVC, we've contacted Ghana Embassy. They say we should go out there and look for date. I think I don't know whether the process has changed because I don't think that is the process.
Like, I think I know what she's talking about, but quite uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the process, what I can say is the process hasn't changed. The case goes to NVC and it stays there. And then when you have an interview scheduled, you'll get contacts. That the notice you'll get from them is to tell you that you have an interview scheduled and the date of the interview.
Exactly, but
So
there is no date.
yeah, if there's no dates, then there's something.
And I'm
And I
more
would
catching
say,
some copy date.
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't sound like, and that doesn't sound like the proper. No, I don't know if you're really working with the embassy. That sounds, something sounds off. What I would say is when you log into, I think sometimes, and it's understandable, it confuses people. And when you log into the CEAC website, the actual website where you submitted all the documents and the visa application,
Mhm.
make sure that because I think what throws some people off is that it says embassy and then it says Ghana. That doesn't mean that it's at the Ghana embassy at that moment. Above that, it usually says at NVC.
Oh.
That's the
Now
thing that
we
people.
contacted NVC and they said her case is at
The case is at the
yeah,
embassy.
yes.
Okay, we need to talk a little bit further because it's not.
Okay.
It would be nice if we can choose our own interview dates, but that's not the process.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
All
I'll
right.
contact you backstage. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure.
Any other question? Any other question? Guys, sorry I robbed you guys of your time. So I was looking at the time wrongly. Instead of 7:30, now make sure 7:20. So we still do have 7 minutes. If you have a question, please do not try to feel like I'm rushing you off and I say yeah, BB sir. So if you have any question, we still got 7 minutes. I'm glad now I asked that question because I would have felt bad leaving the show at 7:20. You know. I usually tell lawyer Rogers say we're gonna be doing 1 hour 15 minutes, but by now the 15 minutes is me or more. How him say?
I see. That's the fine print, right?
That's the fire print you missed out. So any more question? Ella Duncan says where to look for the lawyer info on the receipt. I have a copy. Oh, she says she has a
Oh,
copy.
where to look for it? Not
Mhm.
the. So if all you ever receive from immigration is the receipt, does it say courtesy copy? Because there's usually okay. It says courtesy copy. If it
She
does,
said
then
yes. She said yes.
then your lawyer should have one. It says applicant copy. Then your lawyer should have one. Okay, then it sounds like he's a real lawyer. Oh wow. Okay. All right. Then yeah.
On one or say on yet. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to
you
do
just
it.
have you have a gangster for a lawyer. I mean it just right now the process is taking about 12 to 12 13 months. So it could just be that he doesn't feel as though the case is out of normal processing time. I just think the response is a little harsh. I mean, but right now, if a client filed something 3 months ago, and I know the person they filed for is outside of the country, and he told me to do a case status, I could tell them that nothing has changed because it's taken at least 12 months. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to look. I'll just tell you that nothing has changed. But if it's a case like right now, if you tell me that you're filing for citizenship, which I know takes about 6 to 8 months, and you tell me you filed it 3 years ago, then yes, that's a problem. But if right now you're still within normal processing times, I don't generally need to check. I can just tell you. So maybe that's why. Maybe he just really is knowledgeable and doesn't need to check. But he shouldn't have told you that. That's a little hard. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, but you
All
can check
right.
yourself. I'm sorry. One more. You know you can check yourself. You have the receipt. You can check yourself on the top left-hand side. Yeah, left-hand side. There's about a 9-digit number. You can check the case status yourself. You actually don't need the lawyer to do that. It's usually starts with IOE. So you can check that number and find the case
Oh,
status.
she said they can't. I'm not sure why about it. I think they should contact you so that you can probably walk them through the
Yeah, we'll
process.
take this
Yeah.
offline because this sounds interesting.
Yeah. Now comes with a very good question. She says, "How long after divorce can you remarry?"
Great question. It depends on your status and depends on what you want to do. If you're trying to file for another person and you are a permanent resident, you can remarry at any time, but you can't file for that person for at least 5 years. That's if you're a permanent resident. So, for example, let's say I came to America, my husband filed for me, I got to my green card. God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, we divorce, and I get married again, and I want to file for that person. I'm still a permanent resident. I want to file for somebody else. I can marry him the day after my divorce, but I can't file for him for at least 5 years.
But what if
So
you're a citizen though?
then you can file the next day. If you're a citizen,
All
that's
right.
different. But usually most lawyers would ask you questions because immigration may have suspicions as to whether you have a marriage fraud kind of chain going on. It can look suspicious. But yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you. This is where we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna have Director David come up with any sign a message. Then after that, I will catch you offline and we will talk. But then thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and also impacting us with such great voluminous knowledge and this is so much and this is what I like. I remember one of the guys that came to our immigration show. Oh yeah, on and I'm not even confident commoting on say lawyer because of information will be here for 1 hour. So I must say this is enough data on high level to know what's going on, and I hope people do contact you for the personal one-on-one consultation to actually get that inner detail story. Always tell people one-on-one legal or litigation cases is you being honest with the lawyer. Whether you did it or not, just be honest about it, and the lawyer will find a better way to build your case in your defense. As a disappointed lawyer myself, I don't understand how this goes.
Yeah.
So I must say, thank you very much. Thank you very much. God bless you for coming. And Director, why ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
Again,
before you speak, Director, before you speak, me
yeah.
Pacho, with the Fachemi. Me Pacho, October 10th, if you're gonna be in Ghana, Miss Shaw, October 10th. Again, I was so glad we have people from Ghana watching us tonight.
I mean, Rod, Esquire. I don't, law school's not cheap. Thank you,
I
thank
know
you.
that's right.
Thank you for making the time.
My pleasure.
What we don't want to do is people come listen and go give advice about your mom on your side. Just, not a professional. You can't go to the doctor's office and start giving people injections when you go to the street. So please, let's be a bit more mindful. But again, thank you for making the time. And PK, great job in booking her for, I think, 3 consecutive weeks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
next week's Labor Day weekend, so we can't do
Yeah.
that. Then the following week. So we're going to touch on multiple topics. People who need visa, the fact that you've actually decided to go back to Ghana to create an environment to bring some truth versus, because in Ghana there's so many stories about my cousin went and he didn't get it, so everybody in my family is not going to go get it. I believe talking about it and discussing it will bring some visibility into what we can and cannot do. So thank you for doing that. PK, if you can, I was trying to copy the lawyer's details and put in the chat again. So those who join later can also
Yeah,
see,
sure. I
because if
can
you
do that
join
right
later,
now.
it's not going to reflect.
I
And
just did.
yeah, awesome. Thank you, PK. So again, if you don't have the lawyer's number, PK has reposted in the group, so please take it. If you know somebody who needs it, I'm not going to say free consultation, just call and find out. I don't want to speak for her, but thank you. And thanks to everyone that's joining. We're going to have the same thing, not this coming weekend, this Labor Day weekend, right? No, it's not Memorial Day. Which one?
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Labor Day. So the following week, we're going to have Dr. back. Sorry, the lawyer back.
Lawyer back.
And continue other week. So thank you for myself. We're going to bring the show to an end. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All
right, thank you.
Bye.
And Director Okasembi, mami, there's a auto Ghana want to compound house kakra. Yeah, it's not compound house near Crassy, no. Oboso be hospital, see. Be hospital, or be ayare, no be the tipayaba, no be the yaba, be the yaba. It's all hospital, I catch a doctor sentence in ya prescribe a drama, no bad or be a drama. It though. It is so be a bit hospital insurance and as a scaffold, and lipa back crack on yaba. Director, all right, at this point, we are off our live show. Your name lawyer, brother, A from Pond. This is where we draw the curtains. Director did sign a message already about. He said that we are doing the Q&A section for Tatap Send. So if you do have any questions concerning Tatap Send, they always keep saying not just questions, contributions, suggestions, things that you would like to see, to even features that you would like to see in the app. I mean, throw it out there, bring it up. It's not guaranteed say it's gonna get done, but one thing I know for a fact is what do ebeba enchen so what na fe wo hwa kan for one ma tibako chichemu miensa na ewo hodom into this show. Bring your contributions and your suggestions, and director will filter it through. Nya wasi etimi solve no emunu haya no yebe solve. Nya also yeko ni ekohwe konwade mu so na yetimi ede 1 2 ekekesi eni no so no yebe na fe de yede enho anudi abrabo kaba so abre no questions bia ye direct straight to Director David ene ne mpanyefo nyira yada mase samo beka ye ho edi dwumede ma ne ye kama da se ne yebe se hia ebiom ewa ya. Bye bye.